Today we discuss measuring in the bake shop. Hi and welcome back to Big Red's Cooking. I'm Big Red. So in this week's Technical Tuesday video, I thought I'd cover some of the basic tools that we use for measuring, particularly when we're doing baking. Now, if you've had a look at my pizza recipe, you'll notice that I do everything based on weight. And I'm a big fan of using weight. I just think it's far more accurate, and in some ways it's a lot simpler. So I have, and this is the first tool I'll talk about, my trusty kitchen scale here. One of the things I love about using a kitchen scale, especially a digital one like this, is that I can put my bowl on top. I can add, say, my flour. Once I've got my flour measured to the amount that I need, I can hit my 0 button, or in some cases it'll say tare, T-A-R-E, and all of a sudden it's right back at being 0 again. This now allows me to add my next ingredient in and weigh that ingredient independent of the other stuff. And I can continue to do that and continue to add ingredients and weighing each one independently while everything else is in that bowl. I find it's far more accurate, and what's really interesting is every year with my students, one of the things I have them do when we first go into the kitchen is that I ask each student to get 1 cup tightly packed brown sugar. And we'll see that in a lot of recipes, especially a lot of old cookbooks and things like that. It's going to ask you for 1 cup firmly packed brown sugar, or tightly packed brown sugar, or it may even say loosely packed brown sugar. But how tightly packed is tightly packed? And what we find, and what the students always find, is that when they do that, we get a wide variation in how much brown sugar each student actually has. Because we all have different strengths and we all have different perceptions in terms of how tightly packed that needs to be. Now, if I ask each student to give me 200 grams of sugar or 1/4 pound of sugar, we're going to all have the exact same amount regardless of how tightly packed it is. And that means that we're all going to use the same amount, and we're going to have a lot more accuracy in our recipes. So you'll notice as you continue to watch my videos, and as I say, I made reference to my pizza recipe, and I will actually have a link to that at the bottom of this, and I'll link it at the end of the video as well to my pizza video. You'll notice that the recipe itself I actually do in 3 columns. I do in ratios, because again, it's all about that ratio. We increase our amount of flour, we have to increase the amount of everything else. We decrease our amount of flour, we decrease everything else. Then my next column, I actually have everything there and the weights that I specifically used. That said, I do recognize that some people just do not have kitchen scales or are more comfortable measuring in other ways, usually in cups and things like that. So one of the things that I do want to talk about is the difference between our different measuring cups. Now, when we're talking about cups or liters or milliliters, those are measurements of volume. And volume measurement really just represents how much space something takes up. So this here is a set of dry measuring cups, whereas these are liquid measuring cups. And you might think, what's the big deal? What's the difference? Well, the reason why we call these dry measuring cups is that this allows us to get our amount in there and then take a flat surface, back of a knife or something of the sort, and scrape it right across the top. And again, because with baking, it's all about that accuracy and that measurement. You know, when we're using a liquid measuring cup, that liquid is going to settle. So if I need 1 cup, I can pour it in there and know that it's going to get to that 1 cup measurement. And as long as my cup is sitting level, I can see. But in terms of getting that level measure cup of brown sugar or of flour, by using something like this, what this allows me to do is to get that one level, and I can smooth it right across the top. So if you are going to use cups, I would suggest you have both sets. Right? Another really important thing that I always suggest is to make sure that you have both the imperial measurements and the metric measurements. Again, personally, I'm all about the metric system. I just find it far more accurate, and it's much easier for doing conversions on. So there you go. There's a few tips for you for this week for your Technical Tuesday. I will talk about these more, but like I say, the one tool I suggest everybody have, and if you don't have it, go out and get yourself a good kitchen scale. It doesn't cost you very much. I paid about $15 for mine at the local supermarket. You know, I know most of the big chain stores across the country will carry them. You know, make sure you get a good digital one. It doesn't, but a digital one. The last thing I'll talk about with these is that these digital ones, a lot of them now have volume measurements onto them as well. I will caution you and tell you that there are only 3 liquids that you can actually measure accurately using those volume measurements on there, and that's water, milk, and eggs. Nothing else is actually going to give you the volume that you think you're going to get because they have different densities than water. So as I mentioned earlier, volume really is a measurement of the amount of space something takes up. The amount of space it takes up and the amount of weight it has for that amount of space is going to be dependent on its density. So a simple way of thinking about this is how oil floats on top of water. Oil has a lighter density, and that's why it floats up on top. So if you were to measure accurately 1 liter of water, that's going to weigh 1 kilogram. 1 liter of milk is going to weigh 1 kilogram. Each milliliter weighs 1 gram. Oil will not, however, and depending on the type of oil that you use even, you're going to have different densities. But in the same way that it floats, 1 liter of oil will actually probably weigh somewhere around 900 grams. So if you go to measure 1 liter on this scale or 1 cup, you're actually going to get more than what you require. Because again, it's basing it on the density of that water. So there you go. That's a little bit of Technical Tuesday for this week. Definitely getting into some technical issues. So if you found this video interesting, I'm going to ask you to please share it with your friends. You know, hit like, hit that subscribe button. It's really going to help me out. If there's anything that you'd like to see me do a video on, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. Send me an email, you know, whatever it takes. A lot of my videos these days are being driven by my viewers and what they want to see. Coming up this week, I've got a great video, I think, for your Feed Yourself Friday. I'm not going to spoil the surprise right now, but definitely tune in and check in for that on Friday. I hope you're having some great food out there, and I hope to see you back again soon. Bye for now.